truck is due in 2 minutes. the concrete truck, and they think the pour will take about an hour and a half. So I suggest if we're going to watch it, that we watch it before we have lunch, because otherwise, when on precept days we have to start and finish before 1 o'clock, and we can't eat and then come back and then go in and so on. So I think we'll just stop here a little bit early, maybe around 11:30, and then go out and watch. And she'll take pictures and, get us all up on the here looking over, and you down there taking pictures, and and then you will be on YouTube. And you will be on the Sravasti Abbey website. Yeah. Right? Okay. So, we've been talking about love and compassion, and it's very good to do the meditations on love and compassion quite regularly, as well as the meditation on the kindness of others. Okay? Like I mentioned previously, the meditation on the kindness of others really helps us to feel connected with other living beings, and pulls us out of this mentality of I've been denied so much in my life, and helps us see that we've actually been the recipient of a tremendous amount of kindness, and it really brings that home. So it alters something quite deep inside of us. And then the wish to repay the kindness comes up. And then we meditate on love, wanting sentient beings to have happiness and its causes. So what you may start out here with is some people find it helpful to start out with themselves. Some people find it helpful to do themselves at the end. And start out with somebody that they respect. Yeah, so if you start out with somebody that you respect but you're not attached to, okay, then you would imagine that person in front of you, and then think about these different kinds of happiness and the different causes of these different kinds of happiness, and wish them for that person, and imagine them having that. So whatever worldly kinds of happiness you can think of, that they might enjoy, imagine them having that, as well as the causes of how to create the worldly happiness, which we talked about. And then same with the Dharma happiness of having realizations, or even before you have realizations, the Dharma happiness of just having, meaning and purpose in your life, and having a slightly calmer mind. Okay? And so wish it for that person. Yeah? And then think of a stranger. Then you might think of somebody you're attached to, but if you're attached to somebody, make sure that in wishing them happiness and imagining them being happy, that it doesn't slide into attachment. Okay? So I should say, not visualize somebody you're attached to, but visualize somebody that is a friend or a relative, and just imagine them having those kinds of happiness, but make sure it doesn't devolve into attachment to them, seeing their happiness is more important than others, or, things like that. Then also think of wishing the stranger, we just did the stranger, but the enemy to have happiness. That one's a bit more difficult. And here you really need to remember, that the enemy wants happiness and doesn't want to suffer. The reason they're doing the things that disturb you is because somehow they think doing those things will bring them happiness. And, they don't realize it interferes with your happiness, or they don't realize that they're creating sometimes negative results for them, negative causes to experience unfortunate results themselves. Yeah. But imagine them being happy, because if they were happy, then they wouldn't be doing the things you find objectionable. Okay? So it's not, and here you really think of it. But you have to think very clearly. So let's say you have an alcoholic relative who is constantly badgering you for money. Okay? So the metta meditation, or the loving kindness meditation, doesn't mean that you imagine them having all the alcohol and all the money they ever need to buy it. Okay? What you do is you imagine them being free from the craving for alcohol. You imagine, when you're doing the meditation on compassion, them being free from their own inner pain that is making them self-medicate through alcohol. Okay? So you meditate in that way, and then wish them well. So it's not that you're wishing them to have an infinite supply of their self-medication. Yeah. Or if, let's say there's somebody that who really wants to be famous, and they just can't seem to get the right jobs that are going to make them famous. Well, you don't necessarily, wish them, when you're wishing them to have happiness, to wish them to be famous. Yeah. You might wish that they're free from that craving to be famous, that they're able to bring out their good qualities in whatever field it is that they would like to be famous in, and then that may they then use their good qualities and their talents for the benefit of others. Okay? And then if they're renowned, may they be renowned for using their qualities and talents to benefit other living beings. Okay? Yeah? So you meditate in this kind of way. In other words, you really pause and think about what is truly going to make somebody happy. Of course, if there's somebody who's poor, you want to wish for them to have wealth. Okay? But together with wishing them to have wealth, wish them to have a generous mind that shares their wealth. Okay? Wish them to be able to use their wealth wisely. Wish them to be satisfied with whatever level of wealth they have. Okay? So you're not just wishing that they have everything they want, but really think of the whole context of their life and what's going to make them have a happy, satisfied life. Yeah? Because otherwise you wish them, may they be a millionaire, but then there they are, as a millionaire, and you forget, they're going to get, maybe they'll get more stingy, and they'll get more arrogant, and, people will be jealous of them, and then they'll actually feel very uncomfortable having this wealth, because they'll know that people only like them because they have money. So, really think in a very whole way. When you're wishing people worldly happiness, what exactly that entails, not only externally, but from their inner response, that they find that satisfying, that they're able to deal with what it means to have those wishes fulfilled. Okay? And then similarly, when you're wishing them Dharma happiness, of course, after they have genuine realizations, you don't have to worry about any corruption. But before people have genuine realizations, they might still be led astray by attachment to fame or receiving offerings or whatever. So you wish them to have the Dharma realizations with completely no kind of extra baggage that would make them deteriorate in any kind of way. Okay? And so you do this for all the people, whether they're the person you respect, the stranger, the friend or relative, the enemy. Okay? And especially with your enemy, when you imagine them having happiness and its causes, really stop and pause. And when you imagine them being free of suffering and its causes, which is compassion, really stop and pause and think, oh, when they're happy, they're not going to be doing this behavior that I don't like. Yeah. When they have the love they need, which not only means external love, but when they love themselves, then they're not going to be acting all full of themselves and, conceited and so on. When they have the material things that they need so that they feel secure, then they're not going to be stealing stuff. They're not going to be lying. Okay? So really imagine those people being happy and how when they're happy their whole behavior is going to change. Yeah? And this really stretches your mind because sometimes, we really put people in boxes and we think they're like this, they are always like this, there's nothing else they can be but this. And that's not correct. So we want to imagine them, really behaving quite differently. So that means we have to get rid of our hard and fast category and superimposition, projection that we've put on them. Okay, and then when we also meditate on wishing ourselves to have happiness and its causes and be free of suffering and its causes. And so think of the different kinds of things that, would make you happy. Not only material things, but the kinds of relationships, the kinds of maybe recognition, the kinds of opportunities, whatever it is on a worldly level that you would like. Imagine yourself having those things and their causes. And being free of the various sufferings, maybe from bad health, or maybe, even imagine yourself being free from your own self-hatred. Okay? That's a big one. Yeah? Imagine yourself being free from that internal mind that chatters incessantly about this, that, and the other thing. Imagine yourself being free from the self-cherishing attitude that always self-references everything in the world. Yeah? And so, from there you really move into the Dharma realizations. Yeah? And what would that be like? Now, what would it be like? Imagine yourself having genuine love for everybody and genuine compassion for everybody, and wish that for yourself. Yeah? And imagine yourself having wisdom and knowing the nature of reality. Yeah? And what would that feel like? What would that be like? So here too, very often, some of the things that come up for us is, one, we say, well, I can never become like that. Well, why not? If everybody else has the Buddha nature, you mean you're so special that you don't? So we have to let go of that thing of, oh, this is too far out, I can never become like that. You can. Yeah? And so just imagine it and wish that kind of happiness for yourself. Wish that kind of freedom of suffering for yourself. Then your mind might say, but I don't deserve it. you know, because I'm worthless, you know. All this love and compassion stuff, it's really nice for other people, but I don't deserve it. I'm worthless. I'm hopeless. I can't change. We get stuck in that, don't we? This huge kind of self-loathing, low self-esteem view. And I think that is one of our worst obstacles as Westerners approaching the Dharma, is that we doubt ourselves, our internal self-talk is horrible. You know, we shame ourselves, we feel undeserving, and this is actually a huge obstacle. It's not reality. And some people, I remember talking to one young man who was here, and he told me, but if I give myself any credit for doing things, and if I don't talk harshly to myself, then I'm just going to get lazy and self-indulgent. So I have to talk like this to myself to keep myself going, to try and improve. And I said, but actually when you talk to yourself like that, you're preventing yourself from improving. Yeah, because you're sitting there constantly ruminating on negativity. How are you going to improve? By ruminating on negativity, by getting angry at yourself. Anger is a defilement. How is getting angry at yourself going to motivate you to become a better person? Yeah. So I explained, you have to be kind to yourself. You have to accept yourself. That doesn't mean you're lazy. You know, when we accept ourselves, we accept the way we are right now, we can still aspire to change in the future. But rather than beat ourselves up for what we are right now, which is useless because what we are is what we are, and so what use is there criticizing it, because we can't change what we are in this moment, but what we are in this moment becomes the past in the very next moment. So each moment is a new opportunity, and with each moment we can do something different. We can improve. So let's give ourselves some credit for that. Yeah, and accept where we are now, but at the same time aspire to use our Buddha nature and our good qualities for the benefit of all living beings. You're going to say yes, but? What were you going to say?
Talk about the mind that says, I don't know how.
Okay.
That mind doesn't know where to go.
Okay. So the mind that just says, but I don't know how to care for myself. Yeah, I don't know how to love myself. Well, that's because you spent so much time beating up on yourself. So you have to start with, I have a good heart. You have a good heart, don't you? Everybody has a good heart. Sure, we sometimes get angry and vengeful and whatever, but down in there we have a good heart. So we need to say to ourselves, I have a good heart. Yeah? And we need to say to ourselves, I'm intelligent. We may not be the most intelligent person in the world, but that doesn't matter. We are intelligent. Okay? And I have talents. And you think of what your talents are. Yeah? Because we all have talents, don't we? We all have skills. So you think of what your talents are and your skills are. And you think, oh, yeah, look at all these talents and skills I have, or this knowledge I have, or this ability I have, and I can really use it to make a positive contribution to society. Yeah? So you may choose to make that positive contribution through your work, or you may choose to make that contribution through your Dharma practice, or through a little bit of both. At the Abbey we have Dharma practice, and conjoined with our Dharma practice is offering service, where we use different skills that we have. Okay? So we look at, and we try and really see ourselves more realistically, because that mind that says, I'm not worthy, does not see ourselves in a realistic way. Yeah? And when we say, but I don't know how, it just means I'm not used to doing it. I need to find a way to do it and establish a new habit. So it means every day I need to remind myself of my potential. And every day I need to remind myself of my good fortune. Yeah, oh, I was able to go to the Sravasti Abbey 1-week retreat. That's good. You know? And I actually sat through the whole thing. Yeah? That's even better. Okay? So, so you learn to congratulate yourself for things that you did well. Instead of, oh, somebody finally did something about that black line. But now it's a white line. Is it going to be green? Okay. Yeah. But instead of that mind that's noticing that, we notice the beautiful view out the door and that the rest of the door is clean, And okay, the shades of white don't match, but that's okay. It's still beautiful. It's much better than before. Okay. Yeah.
I want to go back a little bit to where you're talking about the thing with the situation where the person had a lot of anger and self-hatred, and then they were concerned that they would get lazy.
Yeah.
But what I was thinking of and have experienced is that, when they say that depression is anger turned inwards, and so it's easy for the mind that's angry to go to depression. But that mind that's depressed feels quite lazy.
Oh, yeah. Doesn't it? Yeah.
So it's kind of like...
So that's exactly the proof, isn't it? That anger towards yourself is what actually makes you lazy. Not that anger towards yourself energizes you to do something. Yeah. Yeah, because when we have anger towards ourselves, then we just give up. And we get discouraged. And remember that discouragement is a form of laziness.
But I think what happens then is the reason the person would then maybe go to kind of railing on themselves is because they were aware of the laziness.
Yeah.
The great response.
Okay, so, then you see your laziness, so then you get really down on yourself. But you have to see that that doesn't work.
Yeah.
That plain old doesn't work. And actually, when you're down on yourself, you are not telling yourself the truth. That's also something that's very important. Saying, oh, I'm just a lazy bum, I'm never going to amount to anything, I can't do anything right, all I want to do is sit and be a couch potato my whole life and, watch the sports and on TV and, to realize that that description of yourself is not accurate. It's not accurate, is it? It's very skewed. We're not like that. Okay, sometimes you sit and you watch the sports on TV, but that doesn't mean all the time, and it doesn't mean you're a lazy bum who's never going to amount to anything. Yeah. I mean, we all have talents and abilities, so we have to recognize those and then see how we can use them to give to others. And this is one thing that I really see with the inmates that I work with, is when they hear about compassion, this light goes on in their minds that says, oh, I can be of help to others. And that light going on, that I have the potential to give to others, I have the ability to make a difference, a positive difference in somebody else's life. That's the whole key to everything. And that's why the inmates love the idea of bodhicitta, because it gives them a new way to look at themselves. Because many of these people, were brought up in homes where they were told, you are a lazy bum and you're not going to amount to anything. And they developed that self-image as a child, like little Tyrone who couldn't learn to read. And it's not true. But you have to reconceive of yourself in a different way. So when you can reconceive of yourself as somebody who has talents and abilities, who has a kind heart, who can share their talents and abilities and make a positive difference in others' life. And when you look around and you see that you have already made a positive difference in others' lives, it's not just that you're going to do that in the future, but to actually be honest with ourselves, and we have made positive differences in the lives of many people. Okay? So we need to give ourselves credit for what we've done. That doesn't mean we're going to go to the other extreme and become arrogant. If you say, I did help so-and-so repair this and that. I did help so-and-so move their house. I did help so-and-so when their computer broke down. Or I did, do this or that or the other thing. That doesn't mean that you're going to walk around with your nose in the air and go, You just say, oh yeah, look, I was able to do that. That's wonderful. I rejoice. I rejoice that I was able to do it, and I rejoice that they receive benefit. And I have that capability, and I'm going to use that capability. Yeah? And to see that we already have made a difference in many people's lives. Okay? And so when you see that, then the next time your mind says, well, I'm useless, then you go, is that true? That's just a habit I have. That's just a mental habit I have of all this ridiculous self-talk. It's not reality. I've already sat and thought, about all the things I can do well and all the things I have done. Yeah? So you might do a whole meditation session on giving yourself credit for the things you've done. Yeah? And when Chenrezig's light comes and fills you up, Chenrezig is filling you up with self-confidence and self-respect and an ability to see your talents and use them with others. Yeah, so what are you going to do? Say, Chenrezig, sorry, you can't send any of that pure radiant light into me because I'm just worthless? I have what do you call it? This shield system, a nuclear shield system that's preventing your attack of love and compassion. I'm making all the light and nectar bounce back. No. Okay. Yeah.
Speaking from experience, severe depression, when you're in that pit and it feels like all of your afflictions and everything are just piled on top of you, it's very difficult to remember anything.
Yeah.
And the only thing I can remember sometimes is just don't do any more harm.
Well, that's wonderful.
Do no harm. Do no harm.
That is wonderful. If when you're in severe depression, you can remember don't do any harm, that is fantastic.
But it takes a little faith.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah. But just give yourself credit for remembering that, because that is the foundation of Dharma practice, is do no harm. That's the foundation of everything good in life. So the fact that you remember what is the foundation of everything good is huge. It's huge. Yeah? So when you remember that, then go, wow, look at me. I'm not that.
Hold it up on my mirror so I can
Yeah. And then you go, look, I had the virtuous thought that is the foundation of everything good in this world. I had that virtuous thought. It's in my mind. I can do it. Yeah? And then from that, you build. You build. Yeah? And you let some of that light and nectar from Chenrezig come into you. Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's helpful to include oneself in that wish to refrain from harm too, because when my impression used to be refrain from harm out there, but sucker, you're still.
Yeah, yeah. Harm in here, refrain from harm out there. But to remember, no, it's, to not harm in here too. Yeah.
Developing that pause has been a big part of the practice, and they develop, especially with this critical mind.
Mm-hmm.
And even when that engages, and I'm down the road, being able to then stop and then realize that I have paused, I have stopped, I see it.
Mm-hmm.
It's feeling. So I fall down a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay, because I do this, however it's working its way out.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's as simple as remembering GPS, which for me is just a shorthand of guidance practice support.
Mm-hmm.
I just
Mm-hmm.
need, Buddha Dharma Sangha GPS.
Yeah.
And same thing,
Right.
especially when different.
Yeah. Right. So it's really a thing of forming new habits. Forming new habits. And that's why, even when we're not depressed, we still need to remember our good qualities to form those new habits. Yeah. And to constantly remember that we can change. Anyway, we are changing. There's no way we can remain the same. So when that mind says, I'm always going to be the same, then you say, no, that's impossible. Everything's changing moment by moment. I am changing anyway. So since I'm changing anyway, I might as well nudge myself in the direction that I want to go in. Because I can't remain the same even if I wanted to.
It's just a phantom of an old habit.
Yeah, very much old habits. Yeah, or if you want to say, certain neural pathways that are too well worn, and you gotta make new ones. Okay? But it's really beautiful when you start to make the new ones and you start to change your self-image. Yeah? Then this whole feeling inside yourself starts to change. And as you feel different about yourself, your relationships with other people change, your ability to do things changes, so many things change. Yeah? So it's really good, because when we stop criticizing ourselves, then we're also going to stop getting so it's going to stop attacking others as well. Because we can cut ourselves some slack. Yeah. I'm not perfect. That is okay. Anyway, what is perfection anyway? I don't know what perfection is. Huh?
Wisdom, realizing emptiness.
Yeah. Well, not even realizing emptiness is perfection. You also need bodhicitta. You also need skillful means. You need a bunch of other things. Yeah. So just I'm not perfect. That's okay. Yeah, I'm going in a good direction. And that's the important thing, that we're going in the good direction, that we're creating the causes. We don't have to be there yet. But I think just having the peace of mind of knowing we're going in the right direction, it just already brings so much relief in our heart. Now, oh, I'm going in a good direction. This is good. This is really good. And whatever speed I go in that good direction in, that's good enough. Yeah? And as I practice more, it'll become easier. Yeah? So I just do what I can now, knowing that it's going to get easier in the future. And it's going to get more expansive in the future. So we just know that, so we take our baby steps. Yeah? It's really like learning to walk as a kid. You know? You get up and you fall down, you get up and you fall down. Yeah? But you know someday that you're going to be able to run a mile. Yeah? But you don't say, oh, I can't run a mile now. Oh, I'm never going to amount to anything. I'll just give up and crawl my whole life. We don't do that. Yeah? It's like, well, I'm a baby. And you know what? Baby legs can't run a mile. So it's not even an issue that I'm lazy. It's an issue that my legs simply can't do it right now. But you know what? If I learn how to walk first, then my baby legs are going to get stronger, and I'm going to grow. And as I grow, my legs will keep getting stronger, and someday I'm going to be able to run around that track. Yeah? So we have to be somehow realistic. You know, we go from, well, I can't even stand up, so therefore I can't become a long-distance runner. Yeah, I can't even run a mile or go around the track once, ever in my whole entire life, because I'm totally stuck with these baby legs for all eternity. That's not right. Yeah? Okay? So you know that mind that gets so self-critical, I found personally that I have to step back and really reason with that mind. You know? And when I reason with it, I don't attack it. I don't go, you're so stupid, you're so unreasonable, don't you realize that you're totally illogical? Because that's just more of the above. You go, oh, you know, little baby children, you know, little baby children, we want you to be happy. You know, you have a lot of potential. We understand your frustration. So you be kind to yourself. When you're stuck in something, don't criticize yourself for being stuck, but give yourself some understanding and some empathy. Yeah? Yeah.
Kind of going back to what we talked about before with that Christian attitude that I think somehow got twisted maybe with the Victorian era or something, where we can't, our happiness is taking happiness away from others, so what we need to focus on is the happiness of others. But if we're happy, then that's sort of selfish. And I was reading something from the Dalai Lama that really turned that around for me. It was an aha when he said we must cultivate happiness within ourselves in order to help others to be happy. And that just really turned me around, because I thought, wow, it's okay to be happy. Wait a minute, it's incumbent upon me to cultivate my happiness and help others to be happy. And that was a real starting point for me, cultivating my own happiness, because suddenly I wasn't only given permission, it was requested and repeated by the Dalai Lama that was something that we needed to do.
Right.
Cultivate our own happiness.
Yep. Yep. and realize that our own happiness isn't self-indulgence. We have to pause now so we can look at the concrete, because we only have a few minutes, because then we have to go eat. Okay. So the afternoon session, when I give all the different precepts and so on, everybody can come to that. You know, that's no problem. And then just the different groups will sit in the front at different times when, you know, whatever you're taking is being given. But if you're not taking anything, you can also come, because, you know, we'll be also having some explanation at that time too.